My laptop that's going to show set my slides. Yeah, it's still shit for one because I came in from Very good.
Okay, guys, everybody came in. Good afternoon, everybody. I see that many of you have printouts of my book. Because I am very interested in your feedback. I have been working on this book for a number. This version you have is the version that is at the print. The book will be published. Satellite marketing will be available in, I believe, late March of this year. Because you are some of the first people that will actually see this book as we use it in our course. So I encourage you to read all of it, obviously. But the reason that I encourage you to read all of it is because it provides you two things. It will provide you a complete understanding of social media, not just the part that you already know. It will teach you the other parts that you maybe have not thought about yet. And it will provide you a process to use social media, whether it be for business, whether it be for an organization, whether it be for a personal cause. It will give process. It will tell you what to do, when to do it, and how to successfully use social media to help create engagement with other people. Okay, and whereas you see fit to provide me any kind of feedback, I welcome your feedback and critique, and any other comments that you have about the book. We'll be putting together, we'll be updating our website and some of the other promotional products around the book. So any of your insights that you think would be valuable to share, please let me know and put you on the website. People are like, oh, that's such a wonderful insight. She's so smart. You're so smart. Right, so let's talk about what we're going to talk about today. Today we are going to talk about understanding our audience. Right? And our audience are the people that are on the other side of the social media. Right, so social media, again, is just another type of technology that allows you to communicate with other people, right? But sometimes you have to really think about who those other people are, right? So as we get into today, for our lesson, we are going to be looking at second step, right? Understanding our audience. Right? You want to know, knowing with whom you are speaking to determines what to say and how to say it. So let's start out by your personal social media, right? How many people are on social every day. Right now, the people, who are the people that you're communicating with almost every day? What types of people? Friends? Followers? Yeah, right. You're famous, so people follow you. Right? Who else? What other kind of people? Family. Right. What other kind of people? People you don't know. Yeah. And you kind of don't know who you don't know yet. Right. So on a regular basis, right? I use social media for my personal to communicate with, my mom loves to see pictures of like what I'm doing here. My mom's from Pittsburgh on the other side of the country, so my mother loves to see, what I'm up to. And then, when I post the wrong kind of pictures, my mom calls me and she's like, I saw that picture you posted. I'm like, yeah, Mom. She goes, why did you post that picture? Right? And it's so very much like, did anybody else's parents talk to them about the, although how many people are actually friends with their parents? Right? Okay. Right. So the things that you have to deal with your parents are still some of the things that I deal with my parents. Now on the other side, I have my father, which I actually have to call my dad and tell him to go onto Facebook and go and see a picture. And then I actually have to teach him every time I call him to go onto Facebook. How do I get that? Like I'm having him on an iPad now. I'm like, all right, so he's on a laptop. I get that he couldn't figure out how to make the browser go, blah, blah. I'm like, dude, just go on, hit the Facebook icon. It goes to your page and look at the thing. I can't find the icon. Okay. So I have two very different experiences with my parents. But nonetheless, they're types of people that I want to communicate with using social media. So my daughter is very different, right? So my daughter's not on Facebook. My youngest daughter is 13, and she's on Instagram. Right, so she's got a number of Instagram accounts. Right? Did you know that most kids have more than one Instagram account? So there's that account that she let us see that that she follows me and I follow her on, and then she has the accounts that her and her girlfriends are on, right? Uses, and then she has this Demi Lovato fan account that she created. That she's got like 8,000 followers on her Demi account, right? So then. But to your point earlier, there's the people that you don't know. So my concern about my daughter is she is using social media and she has all these different people that are following her that don't know her, or she's following people that they don't know, right? And it's sort of our concern of who she may be communicating with, right? So as we're going to understand our audience, right? And for this class, our intent is to learn how to use social media for business, right? I would be remiss if I didn't talk about your use of social media for personal and how it may come into conflict with your social media for business, right? So how many people have ever posted a picture and somebody saw it that you didn't want to see it? Right. How many people had a picture posted by one of your friends that you didn't want anybody else to see? Yeah, right. So you can see, so what happens as I coach you through using social media for business, right? And then even though maybe for your business, maybe now you have your LinkedIn profile, right? And you run into somebody that is a business contact. And somebody says, I'd like to talk to you, you seem very smart. I'd like to talk to you about a position with my company. And you're like, oh, great, I'll connect with you on LinkedIn, and that's how you choose to connect with somebody, right? So as a potential employer, as like I do, right? I meet somebody, and I may meet them on LinkedIn, but when you just meet somebody, what else do you go and do? Right? Well, you go check out what else you can find out on them, right? So a lot of times when we get applicants to my company, like for instance, I just hired a girl out of Pittsburgh. Right? She has all the great qualifications. She looked very good on LinkedIn, but I wanted to see what else I could learn. So I was able to find things on Facebook from her. I was able to find things about the news. I was able to find things about her parents, right? I was able to find things I saw about like her different events and activities. There's a lot of different information that is available on each of us, right? And a lot of times we can't control all of that information, the pictures, the data, and whatnot. But there's a lot of things that you can control. And the lesson that I want to address at this point is to really start understanding as you mature, as you go to look to enter the business community, those things that are on social media for your personal, right? A lot of that stuff comes with you. So you very much have to think about when somebody comes to look at things about you, right? What will they find, right? So so for instance, so my 13-year-old, she thinks it's funny to Google me like with in computer class with her girlfriends because she always finds different and interesting things about me. So it's really had made me thought over the years. I'm like, I wonder what she's going to find, right? So she had found, pictures from this and videos from that, but she never found anything I had to be concerned about or how to explain, right? So I think this is one of the things that I want to tie into this business lesson is knowing your audience, right? It's know your personal audience as well as your business audience, right? Be thoughtful of the things that you say. Be thoughtful of the pictures that you share. Always be thoughtful of the pictures you let people take of you, let alone where they may end up, right? But the videos and comments on blogs and comments on Facebook posts and things that just seem like they're fun, but it's tied to you, right? And as you progress this, as you look for new opportunities and you are examining opportunities, those opportunities will examine you back. And so I think it's just very important as you learn different things and hear on how we target audiences, just think about how this could have an impact on you and how you could better prepare yourself to be successful in business, right? Because I'll tell you one thing that we had found, right? So I was interviewing this girl a number of years ago for a position, and she was very good in academic. Her LinkedIn profile looked very good. She was very much a part of her community. Looked like a very solid candidate for somebody to join my company, right? And then I had let some people know, like on our staff, that we were going to be interviewing this girl. Well, most of my staff is very internet savvy, so they had done a couple checks on her, and we'd actually found some things that were very that didn't reflect well on her, and we ended up not offering her the position. Not going into too much detail, right? There was because there's the face that we present to everybody, and there's sometimes the real person, and she had put a very good face on, but some things that we had just did not align with our company, and we ended up not hiring the girl. And it's just it happens, right? It happens, and the last thing I would want anybody to do is to misinterpret any of the people in our class. So just something to always be mindful about is, if your future employer would come and look at you today, would they find anything that they would have issue with that where they may not want you to join their company? So it's a good conversation for coffee amongst friends at some point. Google each other and see what you can really find out about each other, and you may be a little more surprised about really what shows up. Anybody have any good stories about something that they found from a friend? No? I found, we had a friend of ours just find out that the man she was married to was dating two other girls. He was on 2 dating sites when the girlfriends went out, like, oh, you're having trouble with your husband, let's go see what he's doing. Oh, did you know he's been on 2 dating sites? Yeah, that's not helping him out very much right now. But it's always surprised at the information that people will share. So let's talk about our audience here. So how many people are on Facebook? How many people on Twitter? Instagram? Pinterest? Snapchat? What am I missing? What else do you guys use? No? Anything else? YouTube? Yeah. What's up? Right? Anything else? Right. Are you on Snapchat? With them? No? I am not either, right? So one of the things you'll start learning, right, as when you talk to different age groups, as well as gender, as well as by country, different social media is more prevalent with one over the other, right? Like my daughter's got no interest in being on Facebook. Why? Right? Because her parents are on Facebook, right? And most kids are like that as well, right? You have some people that are at too young, you're not interested in being on LinkedIn. There's nothing of interest for you, right? Pinterest is very dominated much more by females, even by subject matter. Most guys aren't, right? So social media has come to be known by the audience, right? So much like television, right? Let's talk about some of the channels that you may know. So for women, right? What are some of the television channels that are known for women that women watch? Which one? Like E, right? E's a very big one. Like my wife is a big fan of any of the shows on E. So that's one, right? And then what about for guys? Any of you guys ever watch anything on Spike? Spike's a big channel. Yeah. They have things like a lot of like UFC stuff and whatnot. Right. So when we talk about television channels, right, a lot of times we associate people and demographics and psychographics with those people. For instance, like CNN, right? CNN is much more news oriented. And you could argue that the people that watch CNN probably are more educated than not educated, and perhaps more affluent than not affluent, right? And well, social media is the same way, right? And so in understanding the people that you're trying to reach, we can make assumptions on which social media you should use to speak with them, right? So as we get into selecting our media, we have to understand with who are you trying to speak with, right? Because you need to be able to select a channel that person is on, and that knows how to use that channel if you expect to communicate with that person. Okay. So my 13-year-old daughter could never communicate with my 74-year-old father on Instagram. Like he could barely take a picture, let alone upload it, tag it, and hashtags and everything else, right? So you have to understand the channel, and you have to understand the people you're trying to speak with. So we're going to work through a couple things today in understanding an audience. So what types of things do you have to know about somebody in order to speak with them or to select the right channels? So you have to know their demographics. You know demographics? Right? So the demographics tend to be the quantitative, the numbers of the types of information, right? We're looking for title, age, gender, education, experience, knowledge base, meaning what do they already know, right? Their environment, where do they connect from, their geographic location, right? That's all that type of data is usually very readily available from the user's end. So, but from our end, right, as we look to build business strategy, we need to know who our target market is. We need to know who our target audience is. So one of the ways that we start understanding this is by defining this information from the quantitative, right? So if I was a business that was in investments, financial investments. Okay, what type of business titles would I look for somebody that would be somebody who I would probably do business with? What kind of job title would somebody have that wants to work with a financial investment company? VP, sure, right? Vice president of something, right? Probably anybody with a C in the front of his title, right? CEO, COO, CFO, CIO, CTO, right? When you have a C, when you are in this what they call the C-suite, when your title includes a C at the beginning of it, it usually means that you're doing pretty good. You're a leader in the company, and more often than not, you're making some decent money. Okay, so people with money usually need somebody to help them with financial investments, right? So in this instance, that's the type of title that I'm looking for. Again, now if I am a concert promoter and I'm having a concert, who's your favorite musician? Yeah. Katy Perry. Okay, so he says Katy Perry is his favorite artist. So if he was going to promote I'm just joking. if Katy Perry was going to be the concert, right? What's the young to the high age? What kind of age range am I going to try and promote this to? How young? Right? Up to how old? Well, not whatever, right? Will you be going to the paper? No. Me. Yeah. Right. So what you have to understand, it's never a whatever. Right? If you go to whatever on any of these age ranges, then your data pile is this big. The more specific you could be, the more targeted your messaging. The images that you know to select are going to be those that are going to range anywhere from, you may go as young as 9 on Katy Perry, right? I'm trying to think who's hipper than Katy Perry now for a 9-year-old. I don't know. And then maybe up as much as like at 20. Yeah, you can probably even go like 35 on Katy Perry's. There's a bracket. But by creating those parameters, now it helps me make many more decisions than everybody. Everybody's a lot to pick from, right? If I get to that, I can narrow my message down. Question. Right. Now, gender. Gender for a Katy Perry show. Male or female? Right. Although you get a lot of guys at a Katy Perry show. Right, guys, how many guys would go to a Katy Perry show? Really? Come on. How many? Come on. Guys, think about how many girls would be at a Katy Perry show. Yeah, I would go, right? Right, so these are the types of things that you would start thinking about, right? If it was a UFC, an MMA fight, right? Is it more male or female? Male, right? What kind of age for an MMA fight? How young do you go? Try to market it. 20, how old would you go? Again, this is the types of conversations that you have to have in trying to determine who your audience is, because it can't be everybody, right? Now, education, right? Education comes into play with different things. You can use it as a qualifier. For instance, if I was looking to do a workshop on astrophysics, right? What kind of education would my audience probably have? Right, doctorate, scientist, super genius, right? There's something that would differentiate them from everybody else. Now, if I have monster truck rally, right? You know monster trucks, right? What kind of education do I need a monster truck? Right, I'm nothing, right? You don't have to graduate high school if you become a monster truck, right? So, but there's different things, there's assumptions that we can make based upon the business. And then, so when you understand the business, you can understand the audience. Now, things like, knowledge base, right? Knowledge base means what do they already know? So, for instance, if I was, I was asked to do a seminar on social media strategy. So one of the things I want to know is what does this audience already know? And it's a high-tech audience, a lot of technology, a lot of electronics, a lot of military, industrials type of audience, right? So what do they already know from social media? They probably know a little bit about social media, but I can't say those guys are going to be like very, very knowledgeable in social media. So I know that the material that I present has to be fairly easy to follow along, and I can't go into a lot of depth, right? Because they don't have a lot of interest yet. So this is something that, again, it impacts the what I'm going to be able to tell them, because I know how much they know about a subject already, right? Environment is where these people work, right? So for instance, if I was trying to, we had a client that was an industrial client, right? They make safety devices so that you don't die when you're at work. Right, so like you work in a mine, they make a gas detector that if it smells gas, the alarm goes out and you go before you choke to death, right? Good company to have at your work, right? So, but there are people that they work with are actually in the mine, right? So they're not going to work with on a day-to-day type of a thing, right? Whereas opposed to if I have a retail client and she's trying to sell fashion to college girls, right? College girls are online. How many hours a day? A lot. Yeah, that's how much, right? That's a lot. So you have to know about the environment that your audience is in to determine now times. Like what time are they on social media? How much are they on social media? All these different things affects your strategy on when you're trying to think about what should I do on social media to communicate with these people. Geographic location. How could geographic location impact what you do on social media? Yes.
By the Sometimes, for example, if the person lives in like in a big city, then that means like maybe you should go crawling and go outside every time, have a lot of stuff to post on Facebook or something like this.
Mm-hmm.
And if the people like live in the countryside, maybe it's not so many things to do there. Then
Although I think if I lived in the country, I'd be on social media the whole time looking at stuff. Right, but there's a lot. You're right. So that's one of the examples. What else?
Sometimes advertising is direct for example, restaurants focus on
Right, right. So a lot of the things that are related to social media have a bit of a GPS location around them, and there's a certain radius and whatnot. Right. What about bigger things like language? Right. A lot of times, language is a reason. You want to know where people are, and what the language is. We worked with one of the case studies in satellite marketing book is for a fitness company called Bookwa. Right. Bookwa was created in Los Angeles, but we developed, but they wanted to be a global business. So we were doing a lot of the social media for this company in a number of countries. But when we got to Taiwan, China, we did not have the ability to do the language. And then even in some of the English-speaking countries, it just wasn't the same types of language that was used. So some things were subtle, some things were obvious. So knowing where the people are that you're trying to reach and the language requirements, right? So even from the United States, there's 3 hours time difference from East Coast to West Coast. So when you get up in the morning and you say good morning, are you really good morning to your whole audience, right? When we get up in San Diego, when we say good morning, if it's 9:01 in New York, it's good afternoon, right? So there's a lot of different things that impact your strategy just based on the quantitative information that you can find from people. Now, you also have psychographics. You know psychographics? So psychographics is more as the qualitative data, right? So what do they know? What makes them unique? WIFM is what's in it for me, right? It's a marketing phrase. My dad was a professor of marketing. Yeah. What's in it for me, right? People participate in things because they get things out of it, right? So you go to a club or a cafe with your friends. Why? What? To hang out and have fun. You want to go have fun, right? You want to go enjoy time with your friends. You want to relax. That's what you get out of going to that. So everything that we do, we get something from, right? I go to see my mother on Sundays because I got to go be a good son when I go see my mother, and plus I get dinner from my mother. She always cooks, right? There's always this dessert and whatnot, right? Plus I feel good for being a good son to go see my mother, right? So but that's why I go to do that, right? I go to you go to church to pray, you go to gym to exercise, you go. There's always a reason why you go and do something. So when you're trying to understand your business audience, you have to understand what's in it for them. Like they don't care that you have sales numbers to meet, right? They don't care that you're really trying hard on your business. They don't care. They care about themselves, right? So you have to think about what can you give your audience that is of value to them in order for them to participate in your in whatever business you're doing. Like for here, like I need to think what's in it for you to get you to participate in our workshop right here, into our class, to get you to pay attention and to not doodle on the front cover of my book, right? So each of these different things, I need to be cognizant. So I need to make sure that I'm entertaining, that I move around a lot, that I speak loud enough, that I don't talk too fast, right? And that you understand that some of this could be of value of you somehow, right? That's what I need. That's what I of my audience, right? So the other things that you could be looking at is like opinions. For instance, if I was a fashion company, I would be very interested in what the girls here think about fashion. I would think about colors they like, styles that they like, right? Designers that they like, and also designers and styles and colors that you don't like, right? Those are the types of things that I would want to think about. If I was a company promoting a new video game, right? I would be interested in what gaming platform you use. I would be interested in how many hours that you use that gaming platform, what types of games you like to play with your friends, single player, multiplayer, right? That's the kind of things I need to know. And again, the more that I know about that, the more I can construct a message or a program or something that you're going to be actually be interested in. So, anybody ever do role playing or acting? Okay. So the concept of role play, right, is to pretend that you're somebody else, right? There's a Mel Gibson movie called What Women Want, right? And Mel Gibson can actually start hearing into women's heads of what women really think. Very funny movie, right? And then the one part in where he's putting on the pantyhose because he's trying to imagine what it's like to be a woman, right? So that requires empathy, right? And empathy, being able to understand what it's like for somebody, helps you understand who they are, and help you see because you're not them. The way that you react to things, the things that you think about things, it really doesn't matter when it comes to strategy. What matters is the people you're trying to get to do something, right? You have to understand what it's like to be them if you expect to be able to understand them and then do something that will actually get them to move, right? And most of the things of movement business are call, click, stop in, sign up, register, buy now. There's all these actions you want people to ultimately do, but you get them to do that, right? It is by understanding who they are and think about your customer to answer some important questions, right? So what kind of questions would you want to know? What kind of things might you want to know about your audience? All right, so let's go back on mine. I'll give you my example. Right, last time I told you how my business had goals of using social media to build a network, perpetuate our brand, and to generate revenue. All of those are things that most businesses have to deal with. Right, we want to build an audience, we want to create engagement, we want to make money. Isn't that what most businesses want to use social media for? Give or take, right? So, for decision makers that have profiles on LinkedIn, this is what I think about decision makers. Remember, these are the people that can agree to do business with my company, right? They may have a Twitter account or a Google Plus profile, but they are not active participants on most social media, right? They have a profile because business says they have to have a profile to look contemporary and represent their role within their company. Because especially on LinkedIn, the decision makers, they're not guys that like hang out and like post and do hashtags and share all day. They're guys that run busy companies. And most of the time, our important clients, CEOs, VPs, owners, right? We've had to either create their LinkedIn profile, we've had to update it to make them look like they're, contemporary business person, because they have to look like that. You can't have a leader of a company look, without a picture and a half filled out LinkedIn profile. That just says like that you have no idea what's going on in today's business world, right? So, but they connected to their existing network when they created their profile and accept connections from new people they meet offline, but are open to new connections from online engagements, right? So these are some of the things that, by looking at the numbers, right, the quantitative, the demographics, at the psychographics, that I can start making assumptions through role play and understanding who I'm trying to do business with, right? So decision makers will use LinkedIn as part of the vetting process when I approach their services. When I contact a company to do business with them, one of the things that they do is they come to check me out, right? Hey, met this guy at a party, seems kind of nutty, had a cool business card. Why do I want to meet this guy? Right? So, they throw my name in Google, they'll find Idea House, they find my LinkedIn profile, they come to the LinkedIn profile because that's, after they come to my website, but because that's you think of it as third-party verification, right? Because you come to my website, what do I tell you about me on my website? I'm awesome, I'm walk on water, I cure cancer, right? I do all these amazing things on my website. Everybody lies on their website, okay? It's marketing, right? But on LinkedIn, LinkedIn is a little unique, right? LinkedIn is you saying what you did in front of everybody, right? Now you can't come in everybody because somebody out here is gonna be like, bullshit, you know, right? Somebody could call bullshit on you, right? And right, so you can't do that. So people in business looked at LinkedIn like it's more truthful, right? And then it's who you're connected with on LinkedIn because your connections show, like, oh, he knows that guy. Oh, you know, because everybody down the right-hand side of LinkedIn, it says, you know, you go to look at my profile, it shows you if me and you know somebody, right? So that's another thing that people want to know. People come and check you out, they want to see you, and they want to say who that they know that knows you as well, right? So that's one of the reasons LinkedIn is so important. Now, the link to my profile included my by referral in an email introducing me, and an email from an influencer I have not met before, right? So remember, I had referrals, influencers, and decision makers. So even somebody I connect with that just may be a referral, who when my scoring is only worth 1 point to me, right? They may say, hey, I met this guy, you should check him out, right? And that's good. Those are good. And they use and they include a link to my LinkedIn profile to do that, right? That's good for me. Right? They will review my profile with professional experience and education. They will read the summary section for a synopsis. Since most people scan, they don't read. Right? When you go to somebody's profile, do you read everything or do you scan? Scan. Why? People don't read anymore. That's just how it is. Like, you know, people just don't read anymore. So we use bullet points, use bold, right? Things that, like, when you're scanning, that people stop, read the bold. I'll scan bullet points more than I'll read a paragraph of copy, right? So those are the types of things. So knowing that's how people consume this content, that's how I prepare the content, because I know how they're going to consume it. Why would I make it in a way that they're not going to get what I need them to know out of this, right? And then last, decision makers will look for people we both know to make inquiries before we meet. I always do it. I know I've got calls from friends that said, hey, somebody told me they just met you, they called for a referral, they called for a recommendation. They want to know what I think about you before they're going to meet you, right? They know someone, they'll send them a LinkedIn message. If I don't pass this review, they are hesitant to schedule a meeting with me. So this profile is important to me, and for decision makers, this is my role playing for decision makers. This document is what I wrote out and I shared with my staff to help them understand these people as I see them, right? Because you can't just say, oh, they're on LinkedIn, and somebody like, oh, LinkedIn, and that's all you say. That's not communicating about who this person is and what you should do for strategy. That sounds like you both kind of think that you know what LinkedIn is, but you really don't know, right? I always write this stuff out in our strategy, because anybody who is looking at my strategy and my decision-making process, if I have this written out, first of all, I don't have to say it a second time. They can read it, right? And but it's included. It helps demonstrate why I'm doing the things that I'm. Because this is what we think about people for decision makers on LinkedIn. Right? Does this make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions so far? Okay. No questions. So we have an exercise for you. Ready to exercise? Yeah. No, not exercise. Different exercise. Okay. So I think it's very important to apply what we're learning in here to something that is of interest to you. Okay. So last week you came up with a business or a concept and an idea, and you came up in a group. Yep. Okay. So this week we're going to continue that work. Right. I'll suggest that you stay with the same idea that you had, because then you can see how it progresses. Unless your group really just doesn't want to do that anymore, then you can make up a new one. But based upon the group idea that you had for your business last week, I want you to figure out who your audience is for that idea that you had. Okay? I want you to work together as a group, right, to discuss and profile your potential audience. Right? So, for instance, we had who had the bracelet that was a battery? Yeah, which I really like the idea. I have some product ideas. I was at a design thinking workshop yesterday and I actually thought about your project. So you might have something there. They have that already? No? Shoot. So, so think about who that audience is, right? So if I was a new tech startup company and I had an idea for a bracelet that was a battery, right? Because I could see how you could easily put like the USB in the end, and that's how they would connect. That's the bracelet connector. Anyway, we get off track. And then you could also put a USB hard drive in. Again, I don't want to get off target for something there. But so as you start to think about that product, right? Who is the audience for that? Who would wear a bracelet that's actually like a phone charger that has a battery in it? Guys or girls? Both, right? Because girls wear, if you designed it where it looked like it'd be like a man version and a girl version, then you have fashion and you have function, right? You could do a version for each, right? So that would be one way that I would start planning out who are all my audiences, right? And there's more than just guys and girls, right? I would be looking at investors, and right, because you're going to need money to develop this thing, right? And then I would also be looking at potential places that I would want to get to carry this. Like I'd be looking at Best Buy is going to be something like that, and any of the tech companies, or Brookstone. Like Brookstone has all the stores at a lot of the airports, right? Who sells things like that? So I would think through who all my audiences are, because your social media is going to have to speak to and support your communication with those different audiences. Because investors will totally come check out your social media before they give you any money. So how are you going to look to investors? Do you speak to investors, or do you just demonstrate that you're able to speak with your core purchasing audience? And those are things you have to talk through all of this, right? And based on the decisions you make of who all of your audiences are, right? Because there's always more than one, right? Then you have to profile each one of them so that you can understand who's going to be in the crowd when you stand up and start speaking on social media. Okay? So you're going to identify 3 profiles, right? You may have more audiences, but I want you to come up with at least 3, right? And I want you to be able to discuss the differences between 3, because they're going to use the social media in different ways. They'll use different channels. They'll use it for different reasons. They'll look for different types of content. You have different types of interaction. They're always different, right? And then develop the demographics and psychographics. You should be able to name age, education, location, job title, the relevant numbers, right? What's the relevant quantitative data that you should have for that profile? And then what's the relative qualitative data, right? What should you know about this person that's going to do something different on your social media, right? And then actually role play, pretend that, we've decided we're going to use Instagram and Snapchat for our social platforms. Great, how is user A going to use it? Well, great, user A gets up in the morning and they're on Instagram and they use it to check what's going on, right? And then they flip through this feed and then they go down and they like and they share and they do some things, right? That's role playing. That's talking through with your group how one of your users would actually use social media. Never assume that everybody just knows how it's going to go. I assure you, every time I've had a discussion about how a user is going to use social media, somebody in my group has brought up a different point that we should consider, right? Remember, I got a fortune cookie once that says, none of us know as much as all of us, right? This is a good one to write down. None of us know as much as all of us, right? So the more input that you can get from people is that you have more information, okay? So please organize into your groups. We're going to take a half hour. All right, we're going to see how far that you get. Very good. If you have questions, please raise your hand.